Catholics are not saved by works, so please stop spreading misinformation about us. Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of Debunked, a series where I attempt to debunk common objections and misconceptions about Catholicism in 2 minutes or less. And today we're going to talk about one of the biggest questions that Protestants have about Catholics, and that is, do we believe in a works-based salvation? But of course, like always, before we do that, we need to define our terms. Salvation, in the most simple terms, as defined by the Oxford Dictionary, is the preservation or deliverance from harm, ruin, or loss. This idea is also reflected in the Catechism, which states salvation comes from God alone, but because we receive the life of faith through the church. So both Protestants and Catholics agree that salvation comes from God alone, but the main disagreement comes on how that salvation is received from God. So let's look at what the scripture says. Ephesians 2:8-9 says that we are saved through faith, not by works. However, James 2:24 also says that we are justified by works, not by faith alone. So which one is it? At first, actually, this seems like a contradiction. How can we be justified by both faith and works, but also not justified by faith or works? Now, the solution to this that most reasonable Protestants will come up with is that they will argue that we are justified by faith and works are simply a sign that we have been saved by faith. And actually, Catholics agree with this completely, with a very slight caveat. According to the Catechism, the disciple of Christ must not only keep the faith and live on it, but also profess it, confidently bear witness to it, and spread it, which is necessary for salvation. So while faith is completely necessary for salvation, if we don't act out our salvation in fear and trembling, Philippians 2:12, we don't really have faith at all, do we? And vice versa, even if you do good works, you can't be saved if you don't have faith. So there's actually not much of a disagreement between Catholics and Protestants, and it's mostly just semantics. However, I do think that the focus on faith versus works is kind of unimportant, and it's really just an argument that keeps us away from the actual issues. And the bottom line is that Jesus tells us to have faith, and Jesus also tells us to do good works. Argue about it all you want, but both are important. So maybe instead of arguing about the tiny semantic details between Catholics and Protestants online, you should go volunteer at a food bank instead. So with that being said, I'll see you soon, and God bless.